Well, I love your story. I love what you're doing. So let's hop in here in
Yeah.
earnest. It's great to meet you. Thank
Yes,
you again for taking a minute out for the program today.
absolutely.
So let's begin our journey before we get into your good work by asking you this. 6 years ago, this pandemic changed so much about our lives, especially Austin. A lot of people migrated there. How did you get through that area, that time of our lives, and how has it changed the way that you approach things today?
It's pretty interesting because that became a bit of a catalyst. The pandemic became a catalyst for me and my family. It was probably hardest on my oldest son because he was right in that getting out of high school. Then everything became remote and the friendships and all that, not able to connect with each other. And we lived in California, which was more extreme in that lockdown situation. So it was even more on that. But at the same time, we had a house fire at the start. I'm smiling now. It wasn't funny then, but we had a house fire at the start of the lockdowns in Los Angeles. So our house had to be taken down to the studs. This is April of 2020. And so that happened. And then we were about to build our dream home. We're all excited, making this new design, getting those Texas 12-foot ceilings out in California. And but then the lockdowns they kept lasting. And we weren't thinking of moving, but we just needed to get just a break because we like to gather people, have people over, and it was getting a bit restrictive. So we hopped in the car, drove around the country a little bit, ended up in Austin. Had a great friend that used to live in California. As soon as we got to his place, he's like, man, you got to get out of there, bring what you do to Austin. And that sort of planted a seed. We drove back looking at this place we're building to, rebuild our home. And then some things happened that are a longer story, but we went, wow, honey, I think we're moving to Austin. So for us, it was a major shift. And my wife and I are both very, we're spontaneous, but we're not in a reckless way,
Yeah.
not like just winging it. There's a trust we have and the stepping in the circle idea of not needing to know every answer, living in that, thriving in that tension of the unknown. And so we both decided, and we were able for what we do. We didn't have to be in LS necessarily, and we came here, and it actually for us for moving to Austin, it's been amazing. I love our friends and family back home and the relationships and things I'm still involved in. But Austin's been incredible. So for us, it was quite a beautiful thing, especially now, oh gosh, 6 years later, we're thriving together, all our families together. My mother lives with us now. We brought her into the house. So we're maybe one of the less traumatized stories besides the initial losing the home.
So before we get into the debut book, Step in the Circle, I want to begin with this. If you were to be put in front of 13-year-olds right now and
Yeah.
you had to explain your career and your work and what you do, how do you synthesize that for their brains?
What I do?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So what I do is I take this background I have in street dance, hip hop culture, all the lessons I learned through that dance experience and that culture, and I bring that to everybody. I bring that to businesses, to people in their everyday lives, to have a better idea on how to engage, especially in this time that we're getting isolated and not being so comfortable with engagement, to help people engage better, to lead better, to work together better, and to understand how to step into who you are fully so you can better be with your friends or be a better leader or be in your home.
So what did you want to be when you were a kid? Obviously, your career as a creative has worked out well, but what did you want to be then?
Well, before the early days when I wanted to be Batman, that was the main one, and Spider-Man. Those are the two that I wanted to be. Um, it's interesting. When I think about it now, Joe, I was on a very linear pathway of thinking. So I didn't really even have that process as much in my mind. It was like, you're smart, your dad's a doctor, your uncle's a doctor, you get good grades, you like school, you're gonna be a doctor. It was kind of, I didn't really go, wow. And I wasn't even dreaming. I was more, I admit, kind of following. I was a bit of a people pleaser. I was the youngest in my family. My parents divorced. There was a lot of turmoil in the family. So I was trying to, in a sense, for how I could as a kid, try and keep some things together. I just wanted to keep things moving. And for me, that meant keep getting good grades. I played football at university. I ran track at university. I kept just doing the things that were part of, quote, the checklist to do well and then have sort of a future. And that's why my story is such a shocking thing because when I saw street dance culture in the middle of Calgary, Canada, back in the early 80s when it was brand new and you didn't know what it was, and that thing grabbed me and sort of pulled me over to another turn, um, to help me find out what I did dream about, what I was becoming. It came out of nowhere.
So talk to me a little bit about how you got into choreography. You're Emmy nominated. You've had a wonderful career in the arts. How did it begin and how did it kind of take hold?
Yeah. So what was really cool, I was in a group in Canada, and through that group, I learned a lot about performing and hints of choreography. When the group broke up, I got being asked to put things together. I didn't know it was called choreography. I started putting things together, but then I started to really pursue this career and realized I had to kind of get down at that time to the States. I went to New York and LA. And initially, I thought choreography was knowing everything, having every step planned. Then I came to realize what it was part of what I love to do apart from the dance steps. I wanted groups of people draw out the best of them and then orchestrate that. And yes, add the steps that are kind of the things you have to do. But really, it was seeing what I can bring out of people and making that come to life. So there was like more of a corporate creation. So there's ownership of everyone, even though maybe I'm leading the vision for it. And so choreography came that way. I created a gathering in LA. When I got to LA, I thought that all the street dancers would hang out and kind of kumbaya, and that didn't happen. And so my wife and I started this gathering, actually in our apartment. It was on the rooftop of our apartment in Hollywood. Then it moved to a studio in Studio City, and it grew over 20 years. And this gathering of dancers and artists and poets that I was welcoming with my sort of mindset of like, I'm not trying to battle you all. I want to live life with you and create things together. Then that group emerged that I was the leader of. That group succeeded quite well and branched off to other groups that I started then leading into TV shows and things. And then I got that caught the eyes of people doing theater. And I got asked to do stuff in LA for theater, then New York, and work with the director of Hamilton and the director of Jesus Christ Superstar and all these different shows. That caught on. And I truly now still feel, even now in what I do now, I'm like a groove orchestrator. Whether it's dance or it's people, it's that seeing what can happen when you bring out the best, have the team, the circle work in a great flow, and then lead it through. You're stepping in first to the circles, I would say.
So do you miss that world of being out there in LA and in Hollywood and the entertainment world? Is that, I mean, because there's a lot of it that there's exposure, there's stress, there's all of these things that yin and yang, but do you miss it ultimately?
It's interesting, like I thought I'd miss it more. And LA, of course, geography is beautiful. It's a beautiful town. I have incredible relationships, like people I love there. I'm not missing LA because I'm just so full of what I'm doing here. And funny enough, when I first got to LA, like 2 years later, I get a call to choreograph a film for Disney anyway. So I still was involved in the culture. As a matter of fact, that film that came out in 2023, I think, brought me my first Emmy nomination in 2025, and that was from me living in Austin. But you did bring something up that's really true. I will say this, Joe, that the saturation of the culture is very different. In LA, in my experience, and I was in Hollywood and in that business, everywhere you go is entertainment, right? So you're at a restaurant, the waiter, the busboy, the hostess, they're actors, they're musicians, they got a script for you to read. Everyone's in that place. And so there's sort of this energy there. It can make a lot of anxiety too.
Yeah.
But the only thing about that is the good part and the bad part was that when there's so much creative thoughts going. The only thing about that though is that there's a lot of looking over your shoulder to see, is there someone else in this room that maybe they want to talk to more than they want to talk to you? And there's sort of that sense of this always this, how am I ranking in there for how things go? And I'm really sense I'm not getting that here. But at the same time in Austin, what I thought would be here, which is not here as much, is that saturation of the arts. There's music, there's South by Southwest, there's festivals and artists, but the community is people that go to work, come back, and they have their jobs, and you have conversations. So it's actually beautiful, but it's a whole different level of atmosphere in what I'm experiencing.
So who's been that inspirational force, that hero, so to speak, that's allowed you to find your footing, to find your balance in life?
Well, it's pretty wild. I would say It's my mother lives with us now. My
Yeah.
mother is 98, and which is insane. And so having her live with us the last 2 years, and as I mentioned, my father had passed in 2005, and there's always challenges with parents and siblings and all that. But really, when I think about them, because my dad came from Grenada, 18 years old, knew nobody, came to Canada, and then eventually became a doctor with his own practice. My mother didn't know anybody when divorce happened. She moved down to California by herself. Just said, "I'll meet people." This idea that even a lot from my mother of, if I don't know anybody, I will know some people. I will make friends. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going there. And even now, I see her getting up, and she she walks out in the morning. So what are we doing? So yeah, very very much
That's
so. My
great.
parents, yeah,
I love it. So let's get into the book. Step in the Circle. It's your debut book.
yeah.
It's talk to me a little bit about, because writing a book is such a journey. I mean,
Oh,
the idea to writing it is almost the easiest part because
yeah.
you got to promote and do all these editing, everything that goes into it. So how did the spark happen? What's this journey been like?
Yeah, so I have the background, street dance culture, hip hop, loving it. And that culture, the one thing about street dance culture that's similar to jazz is that when you're in that culture to be part of it, you must engage in it, right? So you can't be remote at the side of the wall, just hanging at the club. If you do that, you're an observer, but you're not really part of the culture. So to be part of street dance culture, and when the circles form, you're going to go in, whether you like the song or not, whether you're feeling good or not, whether your ankle hurts or not, you're going to go in somehow and contribute. And because of that, you have to overcome a lot of things you're going through. Do you feel good enough, worthy enough, or is my hairstyle cool? Whatever you're dealing with, and those things I learned through that culture, I was starting to see they were affecting other parts of my life. And it really came to be strong when I taught at the University of Southern California. I was an adjunct professor for 6 years there. And as I was teaching all these students, hundreds of students a week, I realized that the majority of these kids were not going to be able to survive or make it in this industry. The numbers weren't there, and sometimes the ability wasn't there. So I started really going, how can I help their life? Their life. So I continued to teach them about the culture of the dance and the history and lectures on choreography. But as I did the dance, I started to take those analogies that I'd learned, like it's not the move, it's the groove. That if you live your life, if you dance based on moves, you run out of moves. But if you connect to that deeper groove and learn to trust in that groove, you can dance through life all day. And to take the steps, and as they learn dance, you might even have experienced this. I don't know how much time you spend at clubs, but one of the things I love about being not 20 and being older than that, I'll say that, is
Yeah.
that when we went to the clubs back in the day, you would have a funk band. Well, I went to see funk bands. And so it'd be a funk band playing. So the whole night was one groove, was one sense of a vibe before DJs. So everybody might be doing this. And so everybody did this for 3 hours. Now you might drop with it, and the girls did this with it, and we did different things with it. But this got in you.
Yeah.
And so you could dance all night. You weren't going, okay, what's the 30-second dance? You just danced, right? You could dance all night. And that whole idea, that I'm glad I got to experience that, because when I started teaching at the university, I would say before the term started, the students would come in, and my nickname in street culture is Shoes, SHOOZ. And they say, Prof. Shoes, what are we going to learn? What technique, what style? We're going to learn how to pop and wave and whatever. And I'd always say, hey, you're going to learn those things, but I want you to learn how to dance, how to freestyle. And they go, well, we know how to do that. So I put on some music, and generally speaking, they would dance for about 30 seconds, and then they'd stop. And I go, why'd you stop? They go, well, we did our thing. And I go, oh, I see. I get it. You're not seeing what this dance culture has to show you for your dance and your life. The groove is the dance. And then those things started to expand. I started to see that as I gave these analogies, lives were changing. And then I got asked to speak for the drama department, then the swim team. My first talks were on campus, and then education summits. And I started bringing these analogies more and more. And then, as of course, as you do that, you start to get clarity on, what am I saying? What am I saying? What am I saying? And I started to discover this framework and structure to the circle, and like a pathway to being bold in those hard situations that we face.
So let me ask you this. what is this energy that you have to do all of this work that you're doing between the book, between the choreography, everything that you're doing in your life right now, and your soul and your family? What is the energy for you to do that at a high level?
Well, I mean, it does come down to definitely what I believe, and I believe that what I'm doing matches up with my faith and what I have learned that I can offer people. As a matter of fact, one of the things I lead people towards as they get to the center of the circle, as I would say, which doesn't necessarily mean you're in charge or the boss. It just means that level of engagement is that every circle asks you three questions. It asks you, who are you? What are you doing here? And what do you have to offer? And that's why when you look back, you go, I didn't go in there because I'm not good enough. I'm afraid. I'm not strong enough. I'll fail. Those things, what drives me is that I had to go through those. I almost stopped a few times because the dance circle, I don't know what it's like as much with the jazz circle, but it can be brutal.
Yeah.
Like there were times I was devastated. Like it seems crazy. It's just dance, but it wasn't. I would go in and because of the people, I'd be offbeat. I couldn't do it right. I'd go, "What's wrong with you? You just did this 10 minutes ago at home." But I would, thankfully, I didn't stop. Eventually, and it wasn't like overnight, it was over years. I started to understand that the circle is asking me to bring what I have to offer as a leader, as an artist, as whatever I'm doing. That's what they're waiting for. And as I got that freedom and that grounding and that trust in that process, I'm just driven that I want everybody to know what that is to get that trust in the groove. As a matter of fact, when I first started the dance, I wanted people to just experience what I was experiencing. It's cool. It's cool moves. It's freedom. Then I started getting involved in production. I was creating stage shows and partnering with people to create things. And we put on off-Broadway shows and I'm part of TV productions. I wanted to share the stories. I want the stories. Now I want everyone to get that deeper sense, and especially for this epidemic that I say of disengagement in business and in life, of people to get that grounding and that sense of what I call a groove mindset so they can step into freestyle or freestyle leadership, which is that ability to step into any setting, anywhere, family, business, dance, music, and offer what you have and understand that is all you are to do. And in that way, it's a gift. And you're not now attached to it as strongly if it's not received in the way that you would want.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you. You walk into a room and there's a film projector. You click play in a 60-second highlight reel of this life you've lived, that you've orchestrated, the decisions, everything that's happened comes up on the wall. Is that young version of you going to believe your life turned out this way?
No, no. I think that young person of me, if it's me, was very anxious, very nervous, unsure. I would smile. I was smiling, and I kept doing get the good marks, do the good grades, play the sports, and I did enjoy that. Not like I didn't enjoy any of it, but I wasn't secure in myself. And I wouldn't know that I would have got there. I'm so grateful I did, but at that time I was just sort of I was more of a follower, even though people saw me as a leader. I was actually like sort of stumbling forward, stumbling forward, and then, oh, I got to get in this circle.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I gotta get in the circle, and there's Joe, and he's the best at this in the world. I gotta go in with him right now. We gotta talk right, and but whereas before it'd be like, and now it's like, oh, I'm gonna learn from him. He might learn from me, but we're gonna see. And that richness, I didn't have any idea of. The grounding I have now is I'm so grateful for. And this truly, of course, it's a personal journey, but I really try to and very, very intentionally. In the book, I bring it to a place where this is for leaders, this is for business, this is for people to understand if you're not leading in this way of stepping in the circle and creating that atmosphere where your team can step in the circle and engage in this way, you're going to have just a lot of drop off, a lot of quiet quitters. You're going to have a lot of imposters and a lot of turnover. And you yourself are going to feel like an imposter, even if you're the CEO of your company, and you're going to miss out on that richness that your company has to offer. I really believe that.
So, in that highlight reel of your life, what are you the happiest about?
Boy, Joe, you're just trying to nail me here. Let's see.
Bringing it.
There's so many things. I mean, what? Okay, what am I? Wow, that's really almost impossible. Okay, apart from the birth of my children and marriage and
Sure.
those things that are
Yeah.
obvious, I should say obvious, but your faith and your family and all that.
Yeah.
Um, there are there are a couple things I'll just share. One is one of the big things that happened, as I mentioned, was this gathering that I formed in LA. And this gathering that grew into this movement. And out of this movement came this group called the Groovaloos. And we weren't a household name across the country, but we were known in LA. And we have roots to all the major groups, dance iconic groups that kind of came out of LA. And then members of all those, from the Jabwalkers to Cirque du Soleil to other groups, all tied together. And we created a stage show. That stage show is based on the true story of the group because I was interviewing the members of the group. And I collaborated with the group and members and created with this friend of mine, Danny Sistone, very talented director. And a great moment came because we've been doing stuff, TV shows, So You Think You Can Dance, other shows, but now we were performing a stage show that eventually went off Broadway. That was our show. That was our story. That was affecting people and in a sense was my story of coming to Canada, from Canada to the States to figure it out, meeting these people, finishing this group that was formed, having tragedy strike, and deciding to move forward even though we don't know what's fully ahead of us. It's sort of symbolic of what the book's about. It's symbolic of my life journey, of this continual stepping in deeper, building the relationships further, and and sharing the wonder of engagement, the beauty of engagement. And I'm getting kind of philosophical here in that way, but it really truly is that moment highlighted all of that. That moment of that show being successful, um, watching people that come up to me and say, and up to other members say, I've got to talk to my son. I've got to talk to my boss. I've got to call my mom. I've got to make that phone call. Those type of things that you knew affected you, that people then say to you, that was pretty powerful.
You know, America's a strange place right now. And I think entertainment, the arts, I think it's going to save us. I think that's going to be the social glue.
I definitely am a person, well, that loves to wake up, get outside, and just be grateful. I do choose that. I think it is a choice. I know that can seem a little bit like, wait a minute, I'm living in a gutter, and I know there's extremes of things, but my life has not been all rosy, and I've had many challenging times emotionally, physically, and financially that have gone on this road that is the road that I'm on now. And this choice of believing that there's something I'm here for still because I'm still breathing, this choice of saying I can be grateful right now that that I am breathing, and that there is more to be done. There's people to interact with, and at the same time, I do have a sense that I am a person of faith. So I also believe that there's a purpose beyond that I can't even fully understand, that I have to continue to not prove myself into it, but step into, so I'll have at least a chance to understand more of what part I can play in that great mystery that we have of life.
So, final hard question. Everyone has a perception of you: family, friends, fans, everybody that you work with, but you're the driving force. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am?
Yeah.
Well, I think I am someone who does look and see the best in people, sometimes to a fault. Um, I believe that there's something there that is worth pursuing, drawing out. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, things that I know that I needed earlier. So I think I'm a person that is encouraging, welcoming. I call myself a freestyle activator, a groove orchestrator, and a believer in the greater.
I love it. So your book is right behind you. Step in the circle. If anybody wants to get a copy, they want to reach out, any of the wonderful work that you're doing in your world, where's the best place to go?
They can go straight to my website, bradleyrapier.com, www, of course, or on Instagram, Bradley Rapier. It's in my bio. LinkedIn, it's connective, so it's all there in the regular socials, all under my name, Bradley Rapier, and they'll
I'll make it
find
easy. Yeah,
it.
I'll put it all in the show notes, so we'll make sure. All right, so I got to know, as
Yes,
someone that was baptized in jazz, if you could
yes.
get into a time machine and go back in time and see a show. Let's start here. What was the
Man.
first live jazz show you saw that blew you away?
Dizzy Gillespie. I saw. I was. That's
So
kind of a high bar.
that's the
That's a high
show.
bar. That's
That's
a high
wild,
bar.
dude.
That's a
Man,
high bar.
that's a huge bar. That's dream. That would be a dream for me to go see if I could get into a time machine. So,
I
yeah,
actually, but I actually, it's funny. Like I went to a jazz club just the other day. I go to this one place called Monks in Austin, and I would say I would like to go and see the singers. I love like the Billie Holidays, the Dinah Washingtons. I love Sarah Vaughan's. I love that. I would love to be in that era and hearing them. For some, I mean, I know the great
yeah.
musicians, but it's the singers and the way they sung from just everything. I would love that very much.
I would love to be in the room with Billie Holiday and Lester Young having a conversation.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
could you imagine what would happen? I mean, because she had to keep up, and because they called her sassy, she was throwing down. That would be awesome to
Well, you
hear
know
it.
what? My mother, she's been able to see Nat King Cole and Cab Calloway, and I mean, she saw it all. I
Yeah.
mean, but I think about Ella Fitzgerald actually. Funny, I forgot that Ella, because the American Songbook and just also where her background comes from the jazz and the scatting, like what a voice, what a catalog. That would be a dream.
So my time machine place would be that first night at the Apollo when she walked up as a little girl into that lion's den, dude, and she had to do it. She belted it out, and God, that's it. You're baptized then. If the Apollo takes you in, you won. That's all there
Hey,
is.
listen, I went to the Apollo. I was at the Apollo as Brian McKnight was there performing. I was a background dancer for him, but for the background dance, we were lip syncing the background voice because part of the choreography. We were acting like we had microphones and doing all this stuff. And my mother, who was always wanting be able to sing, is like, "Honey, I saw you. You were singing. You sound." I said, "Mom, no, it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed."
But you're still on that stage, man.
Yeah,
That had to
it was
just
awesome.
be,
I
yeah.
got to touch the wood. The whole
Oh,
thing. You know what I mean? It was
dude.
great.
One of my guilty pleasures is getting books out of the Dollar Tree. Just all of these overproduced, and there was one that was like a picture book of the history of the Apollo. It was so cool, man. Going from the beginning to now, it was like that institution of all of the hallowed entertainment shrines in this country.
Yeah.
That place is seminal in everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
A
I love
foundational bedrock. Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
So great to meet you, man. Thank you for taking a minute out. It's been an
Cool.
absolute honor to spend some time with you today. Thank you and best of luck with the book. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. Great talking to you.
Yeah, great talking.